Good afternoon. My name is Adrienne Hillman. I am one of the academic advisors within CHBE here at Georgia Tech. I'm so happy you could be with us this afternoon. I know everyone is, in front of their computer, and I wish that would be different. I wish I could see you in person and get a chance to answer your questions face to face. But I am really excited to offer our student ambassadors will be on the call. You'll be able to see them and talk to them at the end of the presentation. So just want to make sure that everyone in the meantime has their microphone muted, their video off, and is able to listen for the first part of the presentation. Ms. Murkison will also be in the call on the webinar with us, and she's going to be chiming in to help me do the presentation. So this is the presentation I give to in person, as I said, to all of our prospective students and families. If you're able to attend, if you're like a sophomore or a junior and you are able to attend one of these in person next year in the fall or following spring, I would encourage you to come back. It's always good to talk to us in person and see us, see the building. We aren't going to be able to give you a building tour, of course, but it is something of a highlight if you're able to come back and spend time with us in the building. But if not, this presentation is going to be very informative and have a lot of important information, and we will make sure that all of your questions are answered. So thank you again for being here today. For today's overview, we're going to be talking about some fast facts about the department to give you kind of an overview of the department itself and some of the exciting things that are going on. Next, we're going to talk about what chemical engineering is, the definition of it, and some context within it. We're also going to be mentioning the curriculum. So I know everyone's really excited about what classes we're going to take and what the heck the biotech option is versus the standard option. So we're going to go over that as well. And then we're going to talk about what makes Georgia Tech so exceptional. Of course, as you're deciding between all these colleges, whether you're freshman, sophomore, junior, or student that's graduating, you're deciding soon. Certainly something to consider our school versus others. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about many of the opportunities that you have to take advantage of co-curricular, like study abroad, research, and also working as a student, right? So co-ops and internships. We're going to be talking about developing essential skills. So not only as a leader or a very solid student in college, getting great grades, going to class, but also those leadership skills that you also need to develop. We're also going to be talking about those that are out of state, the perks of Atlanta, of course, our contact information. And as I mentioned, in case you logged in after I had said it, we're going to have our student ambassador panel join us, 3 or 4 ambassadors that we have of the department, current students who are juniors and seniors, and they're going to talk more about their experience and answer any questions that you have. So I'm going to turn off my video, and that way we can get started. And Ellen and I and the ambassadors will join you at the end video-wise, but of course our audio will still be here. So to start with, we have a video that I hope plays. It is a brief overview from a few faculty within the department about what CHBE is, and also there's a student who's going to give you a perspective of what she is doing as a student, and it's also going to show you part of our building. So I do want to make sure that you know that if you are able to come next year, next spring, or even in the fall, if you would like to get a tour of our building, we will provide that for you. Of course, now we don't have anything on like a video to show you virtually. Our hope is to maybe get that for the future if this ever happens. But right now, you can pay attention to kind of the large atrium that we have in our building, which is really a great space for students to study and to get together in groups. And so she'll kind of show you that, along with our computer lab that we have, our own personal computer lab downstairs, which students use all the time in the middle of the night, morning, evening, anytime. And so it'll be in that area and show you kind of that computer lab.
I love the fact that we're pushing the frontiers of knowledge. What we're trying to do is something that people have never tried before. If that scares you, that's good. Students have to be curious about the world around them. That is really what it is to be a scientist or an engineer.
traditionally, chemical engineering is associated with, oil refineries and chemical plants, but nowadays, chemical engineering is such a broad discipline that it encompasses so many different areas, going from biotechnology, pharmaceutical industries, and also environmental engineering, as well as, fabrication of electrical devices.
I really love chemical engineering. I feel I lucked out so much because prior to finding out about chemical engineering, all I knew is that I loved chemistry and I really enjoyed math, but how am I going to put these two together? Which is exactly what chemical engineering is.
The thing about the chemical and biomolecular engineering school here is that it's actually one of the biggest programs in the country. And the advantage of being here is that we have almost 40 faculty.
We have people who are doing top-notch research and engineering across all disciplines, and that provides a lot of opportunities for new collaborations, which ultimately you hope lead to new breakthroughs and impact on society. The jobs in chemical engineering are as diverse as the field itself. So students who graduate with a degree from tech could find themselves in the petrochemical industry, they could find themselves in the semiconductor industry, or the pharmaceutical industry. And honestly, they could find themselves just about anywhere, because that's where you find chemical engineers.
There's a lot of creativity involved in chemical engineering, but it's also very tied in with problem solving. You're going to be an industry and there are going to be problems, and you're the person they're going to come to solve them. So here at Georgia Tech, they train us to think in a way that's creative and that's innovative enough to come up with solutions for those types of problems.
Okay, on to some fast facts about the department. I've compiled a list of popular questions that we get asked at the end of the presentation and kind of put them in the slide so we could go over them just in the beginning of it. Some exciting things that we've got in the department is our rankings, and of course rankings in general at Georgia Tech, which we'll talk about later in the presentation. But we definitely have great rankings, usually always within the top 10. But within CHBE itself, our undergrad program is rated number 3, which is great. If you are interested in a graduate CHBE program, we are ranked number 5, which is great. If you are looking on our website and you see the degree flow chart and want to know more about what the heck is standard versus biotech, we are going to go over that a bit more in depth later, but we do have 75% of our students on the standard track, which really essentially between standard and biotech, I want you to know it is the same degree. It is just how you choose certain classes and electives. So if you're kind of more interested in the free-flowing electives, you have more choice. You get to choose, for example, the chemistry electives that you want to take. This would be a good thing to stay on for standard option. So the majority of our students do stay standard. We have 25% of our students who choose the biotech route, and that is more specific on, for example, like I said, the chemistry electives. You would have to take biochemistry 1 and biochemistry 2. You would also need to take a cell molecular biology course and a senior level bioprocess engineering class. So these are more specific to the type of classes you want to take. The core, everything else is the same within the degree. So the university requirements are the same, the core classes are the same. It's just when it comes down to what you'd like to take for the electives is really the biggest piece. And if you are interested as a student in the biotech industry, if pharmacy school, med school, a lot of our students will look at the biotech option route. When it comes to faculty, we have 45 faculty, which is a great number. We have a lot of our faculty who teach in ME or AE, and they also will teach our classes. So that's a nice, diverse faculty group, and they come to the table and they bring a lot for our students. We have a total of about 900 undergrads, which is a very large school. We aren't the largest College of Engineering school, but we certainly are up there with like top 3, I believe, for the largest. So plenty of students, and we definitely see most of them throughout their time as undergrads. So we advise students really come in at least once a year to see myself or Ms. Markison. Otherwise, I have students at least once a semester that pop in or send me an email. When it comes to work experience, the CHBE department, we really value the expertise of getting work experience as a student. This is for a couple reasons. One, you're going to have hands-on experience, which will only strengthen you as a student, but also when you come back, it's going to strengthen your academics because you're going to understand what it is to work in that industry that you're studying. It also allows you to get paid and make some money as a student. You're working in great locations. You're getting direct work experience. You're also going to have a lot more connections after, right? Before you graduate, you're able to connect with these companies and industries and let them know you're interested in working for them full time. So you already have a network built in with these companies. And then also, it's just good to take a break from school. I mean, our curriculum is challenging, it's hard, and to be a student for every single semester for 4 years, sometimes even summer, it's a lot. So it's nice to take a break from classes, dive into the industry, get that work experience, and then come back and be really fresh when it comes to the classes and your mindset there on campus. And then lastly, I do get asked a lot where our students tend to go, industry versus grad school, what percent, and 80% of our students will go into a typical industry route. This could be in a lab, it could be in a plant, it could be in manufacturing. It depends really what field you've chosen in terms of jobs. And then 20% of our students will go to grad school, so PhD, master's, and also this includes like pharmacy, school or vet school, dental school, those kind of schools. So that is the breakdown for that.
So, what is chemical engineering? It's a really common question. And of course, that's sort of the whole point of why you're here today is to find out, I hope. So, chemical engineering is defined by the American Institute of Chemical Engineers as the profession in which knowledge of mathematics, chemistry, biology, physics, and other sciences is applied to bring about molecular transformation in economical ways for the benefit of mankind. So that's a mouthful, right? But what does that actually mean? One way I think you can think about chemical engineering is as opposed to chemistry, which many of you students are likely very interested in high school, and that may be why you've come to find out more about this particular major. Chemistry is a discipline in which small amounts of materials are manipulated in a laboratory setting, that there are very small amounts of materials usually, and the experiments can be replicated over and over again. In chemical engineering, as opposed to that, there are very large amounts of materials that are being processed. Those molecular transformations are going on at a continuous rate through some of our industrial facilities. And the conditions around those production facilities are always changing. So everything from the humidity and heat in the air to the products themselves, the materials, the quality of these materials, these are all in flux at all times, and a chemical engineer has to be prepared for the uncertainty and the unknowables related to that production process. So there's a big difference here in terms of the amount of flexibility, I think, creativity, and willingness to be comfortable with things that perhaps are not as clear cut. The CHBE curriculum is made up of 132 credit hours. A lot of these hours, as you can see from our slide here, are coming from things like chemistry and biology, physics, mathematics, as you would expect. Certainly, we do have, though, focus on the social sciences, humanities, and so on, so that our students are well-rounded and able to communicate well and know more about the world around them. The bulk of our major coursework comes in that chemical engineering core curriculum, 35 credit hours. These are courses that are taken in a very specific order. It is a 6-semester sequence from the beginning of those classes until the end. And these are taken in that order for a reason, because the content is very rigorous. It is very challenging, and students need to have those basic skill sets very secure before moving on to more advanced material. In our program, we also do have the opportunity for students to take some electives. These fall within our school as well as within the College of Engineering generally. When we talked about initially that we have a biotechnology track and we have a standard option track, really the difference between those two tracks comes down to these electives. So for students, this is not a choice that needs to be made anytime soon. In fact, it's usually around the end of the second year at Georgia Tech when students come to finalize their decision if they're going to be standard option or the biotech track. Now, you'll see that we don't have a lot of free electives. Free electives meaning courses you can take from anywhere at the Institute. And so that means that there are limits to flexibility in terms of your semester, choice of classes. That's part of why you have an advising team, though, here to assist you with working forward on whichever option is going to be best for you.
So, as you're considering what colleges, as you're looking at different colleges and considering where to go, we're going to talk about why Georgia Tech is a best option, obviously. One of them is certainly our reputation. Many students will travel and see other students that are, have a Georgia Tech hat on. So people know Georgia Tech, they know what that incorporates with it. And also, especially with our department, it is, as Ellen mentioned, very highly ranked, and we're always usually within the top 10. So we'll also talk about our faculty and how many, what they do. I know Ellen said we have about 40 to 45 faculty, which is great. We're also going to talk about our commitment to teaching and how you can get involved in research. So I do hope everyone is considering undergrad research at some point. The other thing to also consider is study abroad. I know right now our study abroad programs are on hold for summer, but we do hope that this will be something we can certainly have you go on at some point when you're here. We're also going to talk about what we think is so super important is your professional practice in the field. So that would be the co-ops and the internships that we'll also mention. And then also those essential skills I talked about. I know we kind of mentioned this in our fast facts, but right now Georgia Tech itself is the number 5 top public university. We have within the College of Engineering, we are number 3, which is great. And our graduate program is number 5. So certainly if you're interested in getting a graduate degree at Tech, that is also highly ranked, which is great. And we have students, about 20% of our students that do pursue the graduate option. So our faculty are awesome. They do so many great things, especially with research that we're going to talk about in a second. But we have 7 faculty with joint appointments, meaning they not only teach in chemical engineering, but they also teach in, for example, mechanical engineering or material science engineering. So they're going to bring those experiences and backgrounds to the classroom as well. We have career award winners, NSF career award winners. A lot of our faculty are fellow or AICHE, which is the American Institute of Chemical Engineer Fellows. We have 7 NAE members, and many of our faculty write papers. They're published authors, so a lot of accolades. And the biggest thing I'd like to point out is our diversity. We have 25% female faculty, which is huge. A lot of the other College of Engineering departments actually have between 12 and 15. So we actually have a high percent, which is awesome. And we have 15 international faculty. So a lot to be proud of. When it comes to teaching, all of our classes are led by faculty or lecturers. So none of the classes are going to be led by graduate teaching assistants or TAs or GTAs. So that is something to note as well, is that every faculty who teaches classes will have a PhD, which is great. And as I said, many faculty have been recognized with awards for their teaching excellence. I do want to talk about what we call the dual advising model. So we as staff work very closely with faculty. We have what's called the dual advising model, where all undergrads are going to be assigned both not only an academic advisor, like myself and Ellen, Ms. Markison, but they're also going to be assigned a faculty mentor. So at some point in the program, we can go over this when you're a student. You'll be notified, of course, but when you're taking that first chemical engineering class, which is the CHBE 2100, you will be assigned to meet with a faculty mentor. So that is a faculty in the department in which you'll discuss all sorts of things like research opportunities, what you're interested and passionate about within the major, where, if you're interested in grad school, how that process works, just starting that process early. And then also the following semester, when you take the next CHBE tiered classes, you'll be assigned to meet with either myself or Ms. Markison. And so we make this mandatory because we want to make sure that students are coming in to see us, usually within that second to third year. We find to be very helpful for students who maybe would not have come in to see us without making it a mandatory advising session. I do tell students that it is crucial to really meet with your academic advisor at least once a year to make sure that you're on track, that you're taking the right classes. Our degree is very linear. You do need to follow the prerequisites. So it's really important that you don't get off track because it will certainly add a semester or 2 or 3 to your degree. So it's really important to reach out to your advisors as well as outside of this mandatory advising. So I usually ask people to raise their hands to see who's interested in research. But at this point, certainly I do hope most of you would raise your hand if you were in the session. We have, as you can see here, $30 million in research just in the department. And that was a couple of years ago, just showing you how much money we are able to have, which means our research is just amazing. And certainly, a large number of percent of people, 75 to 80% of people, students will go ahead and do research. And so it's certainly something you should consider. The huge positive about this is that you can do research for credit. And so it would be really great to consider doing your engineering electives as this research. I would encourage you to go onto our website, and we have a very detailed faculty by faculty description of all of the research that they're doing. And our research is broken down into 4 categories, as you can see. So biotechnology, energy and sustainability, complex systems materials, and nanotechnology. And so go ahead and click on all these links, look at each professor, what they're doing, what they're making a difference for, and then see if that really resonates with you. If you're reading that research page and you're saying, wow, this is exactly what I'm interested in doing, I'm really passionate about this, that can be a good sign that this is a right major for you. On the flip side, if you're reading it and you're saying, oh, this is not aligning to what I'm interested in, I just don't know if this is, I'm not that excited about it, maybe take some time, look at other departments on their pages, on their website, and see if maybe there's another major that you're potentially interested in. This is a good way to figure out earlier on if it makes sense. The other thing to think about co-curricular wise is study abroad. And so we actually have a lot of our core classes that are offered 2 to 3 semesters per year, and 50% of our students do study abroad. That number has risen over the last few years, which we love to see. And we actually have 3 places to go to that you can take these core classes. So you're not going to be, leaving the school for that long to feel kind of behind in the major. This is a way to go study abroad, take the next chemical engineering classes that you needed to take, and really still get that experience abroad. So the first one I'll talk about is our GTL, Georgia Tech Lorraine campus in France, and that is going to be the 3rd tier of chemical engineering courses. So a lot of our students will, take 2100, which is that first chemical engineering class, the second fall, sorry. So the first 2 semesters, I do want to stress to students that that's really the time to get your math, your prereqs, your sciences out of the way. And so most students take chemical engineering that first 2100 class, the fall of their second year. And so France is a great way to study abroad the following summer. And so a lot of students, it's a very popular program, are able to kind of get ahead, so to speak, with the major. The other study abroad program that we have is in London, which is Imperial College of London, and that is also a summer program. You would take 2 chemical engineering classes only, and it would be a 5-week program. So it's kind of a quick program, but it gives you a way to enjoy the rest of your summer, right? So if you go ahead and you travel for 5 weeks in London, it gives you the time to study or to travel abroad or to come back and to even have a part-time job. So that's another popular program. And the other perk is that some students will actually take all of their classes and save the London classes, and then that is their last semester. So they are completed at Georgia Tech, they travel to London, and they take those last 2 classes, and then they're done in London. And so we've heard a really awesome feedback about that, because then they can travel before they start work. So that's great. The last program is in South Korea. It's KAIST, where this is an exchange program, and it's a fall program. So this would be something towards your last year, so either your junior or senior year, where you would take a lot of the senior level classes. So something we can certainly plan for. By the second year here, you can kind of figure out if you're interested in that program and talk to you more at length. I would say that all of these programs, if you're interested in any of them or one of them, even 2 of them, to let us know earlier than later, so that way we can make a plan with you. That way it ensures that you're actually going to be able to go. If you tell us last minute, you need to know when to apply, what the deadlines are, what classes to save when you go abroad. So definitely let your advisor know if you're interested in doing that, kind of like by that second year. And I will say, if none of these float your boat, you can always go on. There's more than 80 exchange programs and 30 faculty-led programs at Georgia Tech. So plenty of ways to go abroad. It does not have to be one of these 3.
All right. I've got it from here. All right, everybody. So, probably one of the most popular questions that we get from students is, how soon can I get started doing an internship or a co-op experience? And we're always excited to hear that question, because it is absolutely one of the most critical components of success after your degree completion here at Georgia Tech in this major, to have gotten some sort of industrial experience. So we have roughly 80% of our students reporting that they've done a semester-long internship or co-op. There's a difference between those 2 uh, words. However, in many cases, they become interchangeable. So I'll just say this, that our students are working as professional engineers in the workplace for semester-long experiences. Whether the company calls that a co-op or an internship is not really the point, but what is important is that students are out serving in capacities of professional engineers at the entry level. And so these experiences are very, very valuable, because not only do they expose students to what the real world looks like in this field, but it also gives students an opportunity to come back to the classroom after this experience is over and really apply some of the concepts that they are learning about, and be able to think about those in a different way, because they've seen them out in the real world. Um, you may be wondering, like, well, what's up with the 20% of people who aren't doing an internship or co-op? And generally speaking, those are students that have a different focus for their plans after graduation. And they're typically going to be looking at going to a PhD program, or potentially med school, pharmacy school, dental school, or so on. And those students are the ones that are going to be really filling more of their credit hours and their time with the undergraduate research that Ms. Hillman was just describing. So think of it this way. We want to have everybody involved in professional practice. If it's outside of our institute, that's a co-op or internship. If it's inside, then it's usually undergraduate research. The way that you're going to be able to find one of these internships is by being part of the American Institute of Chemical Engineers, which is a professional organization that is something that you are strongly encouraged to join from your very first semester here. We have a student chapter on campus. It's one of the highest ranked student chapters in the country, and they're very, very active. Every single week, they bring in members of industry to come in and give a presentation to our students about what chemical engineers do in that particular company. And the diversity of companies is really, really amazing, because you might have thought, or many people think, that chemical engineering is just all about oil and gas, but it is not. On this slide, we have students going to work for companies that are all across the board. They are consumer products like General Mills and Georgia Pacific. They are biotechnology types of companies. There are pharmaceutical companies, traditional kinds of chemical companies like Dow. But certainly, of course, we do have our fair share of the big players in oil and gas like BP and Phillips and ExxonMobil. But you'll see that there's really something out there for everyone. It really just depends on what you're thinking about, and what area you'd like to go into. I will say that many of our students will do multiple internships, or even an internship and a co-op, which is a longer commitment. Um, and they're doing that in different types of industries, so that they can compare and contrast, and they can see, okay, maybe I thought I wanted to go into the traditional oil and gas field, but I actually really ended up liking consumer products. And now I'm going to go work for General Mills and make cereal, or granola bars. Or maybe they're going to find that they like working in more of a sustainability area. Also, certainly a lot of startups and new companies that are going to be on the forefront of some very interesting benefits to the rest of us in the future, are going to be hiring chemical engineers. So if you have a strong interest in things like renewable batteries or alternative energies, there will be a large number of places for you to be finding to add to your experiences as that intern or co-op, and then at the end, that full-time employment.
So we mentioned in the beginning these essential skills. This is a huge point of companies we're hearing from companies when they hire Georgia Tech students that they're missing some of these essential leadership skills. So we really want to say and pressure you all to think about joining in clubs and organizations, and not only just going to the club meetings, but also looking into becoming part of that executive board to grab some of those leadership positions. And so there are over 500 clubs and organizations on campus, so it's huge, all the opportunities you can choose from. But one of them, and I know we've already talked about, is that American Institute of Chemical Engineers. So as freshmen, it's very important to join this group for a couple of reasons, as Ms. Merkinson mentioned. But another one is just that you won't be really taking classes in our building, in the chemical engineering building, just yet. So it's really awesome that you have this opportunity to come every week, network with other chemical engineer students, right, as freshmen or juniors, seniors, all of everyone, and just really start building those connections soon. And so that's another way of and reason why we want you to join that group. And as freshmen, I'd say it's a huge population that join. And also to go to those career fairs. As freshmen, we don't expect you to land your internship right away or co-op, but it's really just going to lessen the anxiety, feel comfortable with how career fairs are run. And so that way next year, right, the next fall you go, you feel better. You feel like you can tackle it and handle it better. So it's really important that you start diving into things right away as a freshman, especially when you might have a touch more time because you're taking those prerequisites. So the other thing, as you can see, all of these other organizations, we have a professional fraternity, we have an honor society, just a few other things to name. I will say you'll be introduced to our student ambassadors at the end, and they are, as I said, student leaders who represent the department, but we also have opportunities through peer mentoring, teaching assistants, so there's other ways within the department to get involved also. And I will say, as transfer students, if there are any transfer students that are here, we welcome you, and we're excited that you're looking into the program. And we also have your own dedicated Transfer Student Association organization, which is great. So other things that you can get involved with would be within the College of Engineering. These are just the popular ones: Engineers Without Borders, Society of Women. So lots of things that you can do even as freshmen. So definitely consider that involvement as you start as a student. We're almost near the end, but I wanted to highlight obviously the city of Atlanta. Obviously, there's so much stuff you could do during the day, at night. There's places to go and experience the aquarium, the Coca-Cola. Let's see what else we've got pictured. Beltline is what the last picture I added. So we're definitely becoming more environmentally friendly. Lots of activities going on downtown. Theater, we're the hub of transportation with our airport. So lots of positives about the city. And I will say, it's so great to feel like you're nestled in on campus, and you've got that community, but you can also step outside and really just enjoy a big city feel. So it really does give you the best of both worlds.
You know what? I just want to, again, thank everybody for being here. I hope this has given you a bit of an idea about our program, and know that we're here for your questions. So please reach out, email us, and we'll do our best to get you what you need. If you are already accepted and you are planning to enroll for fall semester, then Ms. Hillman and I will be working with you directly over the summer to make sure you're getting those classes and getting registered and getting you started off on the right foot. We have a lot of emphasis for the first year here in our program, so you'll hear more about that as we get going. But we're looking forward to having you.